Hi everybody. I wanted to do a quick video for you in response to some of the things that I saw in the introduction posts. Um, there was a few themes that I really wanted to touch on, and one of them is time management and concerns around time management in the summer. Um, kind of in general, but also with regard to summer class. So I wanted to put a frame around that, and then I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And so, in order to put the frame around it, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the policies are and take it from there. Okay. Okay. So, the most important thing for you to understand, just as an overview, um, the reminders and resources on a normal weekly post, it's going to say weekly reminders and resources. All the tabs are the same. The most important one for our conversation today is going to be under workload expectations. So let's open that up. So this is kind of a universal measure. Now, people who have been in college for a while often tell me, I have other 3 unit classes that are much less work than this. I understand. However, the expectation is that we will provide to you as instructors this level of engagement in the material, right? So in an online class, obviously there's no lecture. So that 54 hours of lecture is folded in to the 162 hours that is all um, lumped together in the online portion of the class, which is the whole portion of the class. So for us, over 6 weeks, that comes out to 27 hours a week just for this one class. Okay, so I am pretty careful to make sure that I am not assigning more work than that for you to do. That being said, people work at different speeds, and so sometimes people come and say, this is too much for me, and like, what do you suggest? And if that is the situation for you, please come chat to me, because that's a conversation that we need to have. But you can expect that through the course of the summer, it's 27-ish hours a week. Some weeks are going to be a little bit more, some weeks are going to be a little bit less. That is an average, but that's the expectation. So if you are coming into the summer class and thinking that it's going to feel like, a 16-week class or an 18-week class, it isn't going to feel that way at all. So essentially, we are doing it 3 times as fast as I would typically teach this class. And so you have, 3 times as much work, right? So that's the frame that we have to begin from. Um, there's some benefits to this, right? Because everything happens so fast that everything is fresh in your mind. It's not that there's anything that's like, oh, that was the beginning of the semester, so I kind of barely remember it. It's all the beginning of the semester. It's all the middle of the semester. It's kind of all the end of the semester. So um, the benefit is that it's all fresh. It's all right there for you, and it's all fresh. The downside, of course, is that if you fall behind, that can become very problematic very fast. And also that it's just a ton to do, right? I'm completely aware of that. Okay, so with this being said, I will say to you that I do offer this class in fall and in spring, and there's 2 sections of it, in fall and in spring, and you are absolutely welcome to say, you know what, this class is interesting and I want to take it, but I absolutely do not want to take it over the summer. I find it overwhelming. That's fine. The summer structure is not for everyone, right? It absolutely is not for everybody. So if you would like to take it in the fall or the spring, that's fine. If you're worried about getting a seat, and maybe not getting off the wait list, that is not an issue. I always add everybody who sends me an ad request in the first week of class. Always. So, if even if the class is full, if you send me an ad request, I will add you. So you don't have to worry about not getting into the class. You will get into the class. Okay? So that's the first thing. Okay? So let's go up a little bit. So you absolutely must know what we are doing, what to do, what the schedule is. The reason why this is important is because it is a little bit different depending on whether we have a discussion due or an assignment due, or whether there is or whether there's an exam that week. It's going to be different in all of those circumstances. So you have to know which one of those things is what's happening, okay? Um, the due dates for discussions and exams and quizzes are firm. That means that the things that are due lock on those due dates, and that's it, right? But for assignments, which is a lot of 60% of what you do in this course, well, not quite 60%, and about half. Um, you have flexibility, right? So the first half of the class, the assignments that are in the first half of the class are due at the checkpoint, which again, it's going to be in the calendar, right? So make sure that you are looking at the calendar because it's in there. And then for the second half of the class, all the assignments that are due are going to lock at the last possible minute before the end of the semester. And so it's really important for you to be 100% clear on what is possible to turn in late and what is not possible to turn in late, okay? Because if you're not clear on that, you're going to make mistakes, and because the class goes so fast, it's going to be hard to fix them, right? So just make sure that you're clear on that, and again, if you have questions, absolutely come find me and ask them. Um, so anyway, planning your time. I'm going to stop my share for this. Okay, so planning your time. How should you do that? Um, there, even if you can kind of get through the semester, the regular semester, by following the Canvas calendar and, making sure that you know what's coming up in the next week, that is not going to work in any 6-week class, and it's certainly not going to work in this one, right? Because you have to have a really strong understanding of how much time every task that you have is going to take. Okay, so how would you do that? Well, first of all, every announcement that comes out at the beginning of the week is going to have tips in it, tips for managing the week, and for the most part, those tips are going to be about how long things are going to take, because you get a sense for how long things take, and then if it's more or less or whatever, I'm gonna give you a warning about that, right? So that it doesn't sneak up on you. But for your general planning, the thing that you really should be doing is the second the week opens, right? Sit down at your computer, open up the topic pages, flip through all of the panels, right, to see what the readings are, what the videos are, and count, right? Literally count how much time those things are going to take. The readings are clearly not going to have time on them, but you know how fast you read, and so you can estimate how long it's going to take you based on your own reading speed. And the videos, obviously, they all have timestamps on them. And a lot of the videos that I pick are long form, not all of them. So they're going to be, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. I have a couple that are longer than that. And, you have to count. You have to know how many hours each topic is going to take you in the whole cluster, right? Because you have a week for the cluster, and that's the collection of topics, right? You have a week for the cluster. Again, those assignments you're going to have longer to do, but the quiz is due when the quiz is due. So you absolutely have to get that stuff done, and read and your notes done within that week. And the reason why the quiz doesn't have a flexible timeline is to encourage you to keep up, because I have done it the other way in the past, and what ended up happening was that people would get to the end of the semester and they would have the whole semester worth of work to do, and it didn't work. So this is my way of encouraging you to keep up with the course. Um, so you need to go through and count and see how much time everything is going to take, and then you need to schedule, right? So if you have a chance to look at the prioritization organization lecture on my instructional site, the link to that is inside the syllabus, um, and a couple of other places. But I talk about in there how to calendar and what I suggest to you about how to calendar. And the bottom line is, Outlook is a really powerful way to calendar. It's much simpler than using the Google Suite calendar tools, and it is more powerful. It does more things. You can calendar any way you want. Whatever works for you, fine. But if you don't have a calendaring system, or you're like, I don't really like my calendaring system, or I'm not very good at it, or I don't keep it up to date or something, I would really recommend that you use Outlook Calendar, right? You can, even if you don't have an email account that uses Outlook, you can easily create one. It's not hard to do, and have that calendar on your computer if you have one, on your mobile device, and every time something in your life comes up that needs to be calendared, you got to put it in there. And we're not just talking about school here, right? Because you need to know what is going to be happening so that you know the time frames that you have to work with. Right. So if you've gone through and you've counted and you see that you have, you know, 15 hours worth of videos to watch, and then you have two assignments that look pretty intense to do, then you have to plan for those first few days of the week. Like, how am I going to get this 15 hours of watching done? Right. By the way, little hint for you: you can speed up the YouTube videos. I don't recommend going any faster than 1.1, but it absolutely adds up over time. So, you have to figure that out about when you're going to watch those things, and you should prioritize doing that stuff as quickly as possible so that you can move on to the assignments, to the quiz, all that stuff, right? And so that Outlook calendar is really powerful for helping you to do that, because you have the ability to look and see, okay, on the module has opened. It's Sunday. This is what's on my calendar for Sunday. This is what's on my calendar for Monday. Here's the period of time that I have to work. Now, my advice to you is to be realistic, right? If you work 12-hour days and you know that when you get home on Monday is not going to happen, you're not going to like sit down and write an entire assignment. But what you can do, and again, yourself, is to sit down and to watch an hour of video, then great. Absolutely do that. Like, there's a lot of videos in this class, and the reason for that is partially because it's easier for you to spend your time doing that while also, driving from point A to point B, or on the commute, on your way to work, all of that stuff. I mean, that's part of the reason why we don't have more readings and less videos, is because you can kind of listen to a lot of them and understand exactly what's going on, right? And as long as you can also take notes in some way, and I often take notes by sending myself voice memos, right? Or text messages. I send myself text messages all the time, a lot of notes and text messages to myself. But like you you have to think creatively about how you're going to fit 27 hours of work into your existing life, right? And so if you don't make a plan for that, it's not going to work out. You absolutely have to make a plan for it. So, literally what I do is I block out the time. So, if I drop my daughter at camp at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I know that I'm home and have my coffee and my breakfast and ready to work at 10 o'clock, then I'm not going to start my work block at 9:15. I might be home by 9:15, but if I'm not ready to work, there's no point in starting the block then, right? Like, it just throws off my entire planning system. So, if I know that I can be ready to work by 10, then my block is going to start at 10, and it's going to go until, lunchtime or whatever it is. But that whole block, is, maybe it's 2 hours long, maybe it's a little bit longer than that, but you will know how long it takes you to get stuff done within those blocks. And here's the important part, the really critical part, and why you shouldn't try to do this on paper. Even though paper planners are rad, the reason why you shouldn't try to do it on paper is because when something comes up, and it will always come up. When something comes up, you're going to want to be able to move those blocks around. You're going to want to be able to just grab it and be like, okay, something came up, so I missed this 3-hour block where I was intending to work. Where can I drag this to that is going to give me another 3 hours to make up for the ones that I missed, right? Because if you don't do that, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to be like, okay, I missed 3 hours of work, and then you're going to be 3 hours behind all week long, and then it's not going to get done. So, and that's assuming that it doesn't happen again at some point, right? So, like, I end up moving my blocks around multiple times a day, usually, right? Because stuff happens. So, there's other ways to do this. There's other techniques to use. In the introductions, somebody actually mentioned the Pomodoro method, which is a really good way to handle lack of focus. Right. And in the world that we live in today, it does not matter whether you have ADHD or not. We all struggle with focus. And the Pomodoro method is simple. It is powerful. It basically is a timer method. You set your timer for whatever it is. The chime that you heard earlier in the lecture was my Pomodoro timer going off. And so my blocks are 20 minutes long because that's what I can handle. I do have ADHD. I cannot go longer. And the breaks are 5 minutes long. And when you use an app, it will put the longer breaks in there for you, which is a nice benefit. But you don't need to use an app. You can just do 20-minute timer, 5-minute timer, 20-minute timer. What it really does is it helps you come back to work after you've taken a break. It's not that it doesn't let you take breaks, and it's not that you can't skip breaks. You can do whatever you want. I often skip breaks. But it when it chimes and it says come back to work, that will really help you. So, lots and lots and lots of productivity tips in the I will actually link to the lecture in the announcement that I'll make for you. But lots of productivity tips in there, and your suggestions for your classmates are gold, right? Because I might think that I have a great method for how to manage my time and how to make sure that I'm keeping up, but every semester somebody comes up with something that I'm like, oh, that was a great idea. I didn't think of that. So, you can always respond to the announcement and to help out your classmates. And that really is what I would encourage you to do, right? The reason why all of the hubs are discussions is so that you can support each other, right? And the announcements are also discussions so that you can help each other and you can help me, right? Okay, so those are my suggestions for you, and I am, you know, here to help you. I don't have any set office hours in the summer. That doesn't mean that I'm not available. I absolutely am available. If you wanna meet, just let me know. If you want to send me a message and just to ask a question, I'm pretty good about getting to them within 24 hours, right? So, yeah, here to help. Let me know whatever it is that you need. Okay, have a good summer. Thanks.